First item on the agenda are delegations. We have, I'd like to welcome to the Comox Valley and to the town of Comox specifically, Inspector Blair McDonald of the RCMP. Blair, we're going to have you come up and speak in a minute, and I'd ask members of council, should they have any questions regarding the RCMP report later in the agenda under correspondence, that they ask them at the end of Inspector Blair McDonald's talk here, that they ask the questions then rather than having him wait around for the entire meeting. So, Inspector Blair McDonald, thank you so much and welcome to Comox.
Thank you. We're going to do this thing, all right? First of all, I have to apologize a little bit. I have a late addition to some of my information for you, so I'll this will be just like grade school. I'll put them here and take one. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here today. It's certainly my pleasure to be here. Introduction-wise, I've met a few of the faces in the room here. I'll give you just a quick introduction about myself. I've been in the RCMP for 27 years. Of course, I started when I was 12, and I usually don't get a big laugh like that. Most of my service has been in Alberta. I spent about 5 years of my service as an instructor at the Training Academy in Regina as well, and from there, I went to a couple of detachments. I was in Hinton Detachment prior to here as the detachment commander, and as luck would have it, when I was looking for a new opportunity, this opportunity came up, and I put my name in the hat and was fortunate enough to be the chosen candidate. So here I am. I've been here since the end of May. And I do happen to live in Comox, but don't tell anybody. And I'm really enjoying everything that I've seen so far. Getting to learn a few different things about the province of British Columbia, some of its laws and a special way that things are done in the RCMP itself in BC. But I'm learning a little bit more about that as I go, and certainly the policing issues in the valley itself. So I'm very happy to be here, very pleased that I had the opportunity to leave this position, and very pleased to be here. So that's my introduction. Moving on from there, I will quickly go through this, just hit a few points about this stat sheet I put in front of you. These are the statistics from 2011 versus 2012 from January 1st to August 1st. So, and then a percent change year-to-date category at the end. Green, I guess, being good, and red being not as good. But I do caution you about low number values. If we have 0 assaults and then we have 1 assault, we have that's a bad example. With 2 assaults and we have 4 assaults, we have a 100% increase. It doesn't mean that assaults are not rampant and everyone's getting beat up on every street corner. So I do caution you about low number values. There are some things that are higher number values that I'll tell you an interesting story about. Those being mischief to property, that shows a fairly significant decrease, and also theft from vehicles. These are both priorities in the detachment that are affected by the crime reduction strategy that's been in place before my arrival, but I certainly do support it. And from an RCMP perspective, when they being Ottawa, sees numbers like this, reductions like this, they call us and ask us, is it real? Did we change the way we record our statistics and that sort of thing, because they have difficulty accepting that a positive change like this has taken place. So I'll have to justify those at the end of the year. Unless there are any specific questions, there's just a few other things I do want to go over. You'll notice that calls for service is fairly stable throughout from this point last year to this point this year. Some things that are not captured in this report are, as it says down at the bottom, all data includes unfounded and assisted questions. Those unfounded, and what that means is, look into it, reported as an impaired, for example, and the vehicle will stop, the person is not actually impaired, that becomes an unfounded complaint. That's a fairly short one. We do have, unfortunately, other unfounded complaints that sometimes take a lot of time from an investigator standpoint. And I'll use an example of it. This isn't a specific example of any occurrence, it's just an example. I'll say something like a sexual assault. For whatever reason, it's been reported and it's unfounded, but that takes up a lot of investigational time to get to that point. So, you know, an unfounded occurrence doesn't show up on the statistics, but an unfounded occurrence can sometimes take a considerable period of time and resources to investigate. However, having said that, in the total calls for service, that includes everything. All calls, assist, unfounded, every call for service is in that bottom number. They're just not reflected in the actual breakdown of the statistics above that. Having said that, any questions about what you're seeing in front of you?
I just have one. On your impaired operator vehicle, I noticed it stayed very stable the last 2 years. You probably wouldn't know but what it looked like in 2010. Like, that's just about the time when the new rules came into effect. And I guess my question is, did that have a significant effect? Because that seems like a pretty low number to me.
Short answer, yes, very significant effect. The IRPs, the immediate roadside prohibitions, is preferred maybe is the wrong way to deal with an impaired driver, but it's certainly cost efficient, it's fast, and it's the preferred way that the members are dealing with impaired drivers. So that legislation has had a dramatic impact on the number of impaired drivers that actually go through the charge process.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Thank you very much, and welcome again to the Valley. We hope to have a close association with you.
Thank you. I'll stick around for a little while and watch until we win.
Nothing to do, mate?
Well, maybe I'll go. Thank you.
Our next delegation, the Comox Golf Club, Donald Taylor is here to speak on behalf. Donald, you have 10 minutes to speak to council. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for the invitation to come here and speak to you about the permissive tax exemption for the Comox Golf Club. Accompanying me also is Maureen Taylor, who is representing the Courtney Golf Club. She's the secretary of the golf club and is probably best qualified to answer any questions concerning shareholders' lists. The reason that I'm here is I am asking that the Committee of the Whole give consideration to increasing the permissive exemption on the assessed land classified as recreational nonprofit from 56% to 76%. The Comox Golf Club is a registered nonprofit organization. The land on which the Comox Golf Club operates, a public and private course, is owned by the Courtney Golf Club, of which the town is the majority or major shareholder. The land is leased to the Comox Golf Club under a current 30-year lease, which expires in June of 2033. In consideration of this lease agreement, the Courtney Golf Club agrees to a number of provisions that not limited to, but we must maintain the property as a golf course, we pay the taxes and the services, which in 2012 amounted to $23,000 in taxes, as well as charges for metered water. Waters are greens, and we budgeted approximately $7,000 for that every year. We're also required to pay the administration costs incurred by the Courtney Golf Club. The golf club caters to a variety of groups in the community. The annual membership consists of many seniors over 60 years of age, as well as an active junior program that's run by the club professional, who also conducts public lessons for all ages in partnership with the Comox Rec Center. We have open tea times that are available to tourists as well as the citizens of the Comox Valley. A significant amount of the club revenue is derived from green fees. The public participation amounted to about 11,509 hole rounds annually. Public participation is encouraged at the golf club. There are very few events during the year in which the public cannot play. That is pretty well limited to restrictions such as club championships, etc. We do have a variety of events during the week. We have beer and burger tonight. We have Thursday night ladies, we have a mixer on Friday, and in each of those venues, the public is welcome to play on that course. And matter of fact, we encourage it, and we are encouraging it by giving discounts to members who show up for these events. The Comox Club, the golf club in the past, has continued to be active in the community. The club donates many rounds of golf to the various charity organizations, schools, service groups, and other fundraising events, which is amounted to in excess of $6,000 per year. Over the past 12 years, we have hosted a charity tournament in support of Crohn's and colitis, and raising $3,000 to $4,000 annually. And this year, the Ladies Club had a tournament in support of breast cancer, of which 100% of all the proceeds, including the greenie fees, went to charity. And these events are open to the public. Well, we very much appreciate the support the town of Comox has given us over the years. We believe that there's a compelling or strong argument to increase that tax exemption. In the most recent information supplied to the town, you can see a letter from Maureen Taylor dated July 2nd of 2012. It shows that the town of Comox owns 178 shares, or about 57% of the total 312 or 313 shares issued. The privately holding of these shares is 134 or 43%. But out of those 134 shares, there are only 56 shares that have been recorded where there is a recorded ownership. The remaining 78 shares cannot be physically traced to the owner. Based on the foregoing facts, there are 178 voting shares in the name of the town of Comox, and there are 56 voting shares that are privately held for a total of 234. In terms of the voting shares, the town holds 76% of the total. In terms of percentage of controlling interest, the town has 100% because of the majority shares that you own. And we believe that the Comox Golf Club is a true gem. It has a wonderful history. It is one of the oldest golf clubs on Vancouver Island, and it is a unique asset to the town of Comox. And an increased permissive exemption will go some way in allowing the Comox Golf Club to continue to operate the legacy left to the town by the late Robert Filbert. Attached to this correspondence, there are a number of things. The revised application tax exemption, which I won't go into. Correspondence from Maureen, which I just mentioned earlier. It shows a list of the shareholders. There is a letter from Chris Gage, who is currently the president of the Courtney Golf Club. And I'd just like to cover a few points in that letter. Chris Gage goes on to say, as president of the Courtney Golf Club Limited and a local businessman in the community, the purpose of this letter is to lend my strong support in granting the Comox Golf Club an increase in the tax exemption on the lands used as golf course. In the second to last paragraph, he says there are very few communities that can claim that they have a splendid 9-hole golf course in the heart of the downtown core. One of the reasons that Robert Filbert granted the majority of the shares to the Courtney Golf Club to the town of Comox was his vision that his vision was very similar to an experience where he had played in the golf course, the O'Donnell Golf Course in the center of Palm Springs, and he felt that the Courtney Golf Club would impact the municipality of Comox in a similar fashion. And I have attached, or it is attached to this letter, a copy of the original letter for reference of this fact. And in that letter from Mr. Filbert, dated October the 9th, 1966, he says in the first paragraph, through share ownership, the village of Comox will control and manage the Comox Golf Club. He has agreed that the village, the area comprising the golf course, is to remain a golf course for the next 99 years. And after 99 years, if it is no longer practical to retain the area as a golf course, it must become only a public park in perpetuity. I've also had a recent letter of legal opinion, which isn't really too significant from the point of view that it says what we can do with these shares that are now have no ownership. Chris Cameron says a company can ultimately reduce its capital by a court order, and given the situation and trust conditions imposed on the shareholders by Robert Filbert, I think this would be necessary to accomplish the goals of increasing the percentage ownership by the town of Comox. You would expect that the cost of such a court application would be several thousands of dollars, as historical affidavits would have to be filed, and many interested parties would be needed to serve this purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my presentation, and I would respectfully request that you give consideration to increasing the subscription to this gem that we have called the Comox Golf Club. Is there any questions?
Thank you. Council, any questions from those that have one? Councillor Grant.
I was just, I've sat at many of your meetings, and every time I go, we talk about the share thing, and I know you guys have really tried hard to find those shares. It's not something that's a frivolous thing, so I know how hard you've tried to do that, but what are you doing to try and recruit new members or bring more business to the golf course? I talked to you about this, so I know you've got some things in mind. So.
Well, the next offering that we'll have at the golf club will be that, and it'll be advertised, we're looking for new members, and if a person wants to join the golf club next year, they pay for free from October, November, and December of this year. That's one strategy that we have. We've encouraged our membership to go out and solicit or find people that would like to join the golf course, and there's invitations out for people to do that. We were quite successful in recruiting about 12 or 14 new members this year. And again, it was a promotion where you could golf all you want in July for $150 and apply that against a prorated fee for the rest of the year. We're going to be doing an awful lot of those kinds of things to try and attract people to membership to the Comox Golf Club.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of council? If not, thank you for your time.
Thanks for your time.
Presentation. For the delegation, we have a late item, and that's the Royal Canadian Legion in regards to property tax exemption. John Palmer, is John over here? Welcome, John. You have the floor for 10 minutes. Thank you.
Wasn't late on my report. I was encouraged to go to this one instead of the next meeting. I want to get you straight. Good afternoon, Acting Mayor McKenna and Councillor. My name is John Holland. I'm the President of the Royal Canadian Legion branch, 160 Comox. The Royal Canadian Legion has 86 years of dedication to the Canadian community. This is insurmountable value for public welfare. This is a gigantic demonstration of volunteerism and a service and sacrifice that no other charitable organization in Canada can match. For more than 8 decades, our members have served our fellow citizens quietly behind the scenes with great humility. We very rarely ask for assistance from government. We raise money mostly from our own pockets. All year long, they go directly into the community. We support a vast range of community programs for all citizens of all ages. We volunteer in numbers greater than any other organization. We fill a void when agencies cannot respond. For example, color parties for telethons, senior games, and we readily stand to for nautical days, and any other duties that get pointed in our direction. And when government programs are cut, the demand for community service rises, and we respond without hesitation. For our next 86 years of dedicated community service, we know we have to modernize our operations and have plans to do just that. We are working on how to adapt to the changing interests of our fellow citizens. We have plans to refurbish our facility by to be more inviting for community programs, events, and attractive, modern busy families to embrace healthy lifestyles. By updating our building to improve the attractiveness to potential renters and rent-waived charity users of the hall. We have painted our building this summer, the quoted cost being $4,400. Therefore, we related to the time-tested system of volunteer system, saving thousands of precious dollars. It takes us a long time to earn our money. We have installed Wi-Fi, plus we have purchased a projector and a screen to be installed shortly. We do have immediate concerns that must be taken care of in the very near future in answer to use of savings. Our two heat pumps are in need of replacement, one at near $9,000, the other at $7,000. Our roof is somewhat old and showing signs that it will need replacement for the foreseeable future at a cost of $50,000 to $90,000. In order to effectively attain these goals, we also know we cannot do this alone. We require partners. We are members of the Comox Business in Action and are pursuing cooperative opportunities with other organizations. We should be considered for 100% relief, why should we be considered for 100% relief? The Legion is different from other charitable organizations. We cannot be lumped into this type of general category. We have to be considered on the merits of our mandate to advocate and for support veterans and their families. Our contribution to the community, both political and philanthropic, is a big word for me. Sense, our emphasis on patriotism, heritage, and remembrance is the cornerstone of the community. Although our mission statement is mainly directed at veterans and their dependents, which now includes the RCMP and their dependents, Canada has spent a considerable amount of time not engaged in a major war, therefore lacking in war veterans. The Legion has therefore changed direction of its support, directly targeting the needs of the local community. As you can see in Roman numeral 5E, charitable organization support by branch 160. How we raise money for our communities. Our community benevolent is also different from other organizations. Although our lounge may be considered a business, the fact of the matter is this is where we raise a great deal of money through gaming activities. This money comes directly from the pockets of Legionnaires. The only outside fund campaigning we do is the Poppy campaign, and student bursaries and support to St. Joseph Hospital account for more than half of this annual fund collection. So we put it right back into the community and all use it. All the funds are redirected to support community programs for all citizens of all ages. These are important factors to understand because when a bureaucrat has a checklist of eligibility, we don't usually fit without this understanding. I assure you, Acting Mayor McKenna and councils, we have plans for revitalizing the Comox Legion by redeveloping and taking into consideration not only needs of community, but veterans of today and the future. Not only do we support them, we need these new veterans to hand off this branch to, in order to carry on the work, support to the community and the future veterans, their dependents. Our Legion branch in Comox pays approximately $6,360 taxes yearly at a 50% relief. We donate close to $60,000 yearly to those in need in the Comox Valley. This does not include the rental fees that we waive for charities that use our hall, the donations that are not directly donated within the town of Comox. More often than not, support needed charities that are available to Comoxians, who will take our place if we, the Comox Legion, is forced to close our doors. Thank you.
Very much.
Any questions?
Do we have any questions from council? Thank you for your time. Appreciate administration report, and we'll be discussing this a little later.
Okay, and I must run because I have a council meeting to chair. Thank you.
Moving along with the agenda then, as there are no minutes, we'll move to department reports. A financial statement report from for a second quarter.
I move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Agenda's been adopted. Thank you, Councillor Graham. Question?
All in favor?
So I'll move that we receive the second quarter financial statement.
Second.
Any questions of our Director of Finance? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to staff reports then. Regards to permissive tax exemption report for 2013. Just a prefacing comment before we discuss it, and then I'd like to ask our Director of Finance to make some comments. Should we consider covering the requests that have come up today, they would have to come from capital budget operations or raise taxes to make up the difference. And I think we all need to be aware of that. I think that's just a statement there. And I'd like to ask the Director of Finance to make some comments in regards to the tax exemption report for 2013.
Permissive tax exemptions have to be adopted by bylaw before October 31st. And because we only had one committee of the whole meeting this month, the bylaw is before you now. That gives us 3 council meetings coming up to deal with the actual readings and adoption. So it may seem early that we're doing this early in the year, but it's because there's only one committee of the whole meeting scheduled for September. The 2012 bylaw you see in front of you was drafted primarily based on prior year's bylaws. I've changed my recommendation for the Legion from previous years, so I'm recommending that, like 888 Wing, we exempt all of the Class 8 property, which includes all of the building and most of the land in 2012. And so Class 8 is the nonprofit portion of their assessment, and that we offer no exemption to the Class 6 portion of their assessment, which is, I think, half of the land. That would result, if values are similar to 2012 in the next year's tax roll, that would result in 72% of the property being exempt, and a slight increase in the actual financial amount of the exemption that you receive. Another change in this version of the bylaw is that the Heritage Church is no longer owned by the Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church of Victoria. It is now privately owned, but there is a section that can continue that exemption because the property is leased to and is being used by the Lutheran Church. So that's a small change in the essentially the provision of how we would provide the exemption, because the statutory exemption for the church itself is gone. In my report, I mentioned that Tigger 2 is asked again for a 100% exemption, but as in previous years, I'm only recommending an exemption of 50%. I'm not recommending any changes to the golf course. If you've been through the exemptions binder that was with your reading materials and is on the front counter, you'll see that I responded to their letter when they wrote it in July and explained my reasons for not making any changes to my recommendation. My reluctance to recommend changes is, as Councillor McKinnon has noted, because taxes and exemptions are a zero-sum matrix. If we increase the exemptions, we'll lose revenue. It has to be made up one way or another somewhere else. So that's why I'm always reluctant to recommend changes that have a significant impact on our taxes. That being said, this is a bylaw and it's within Council's discretion to do as it so chooses.
Questions?
Okay,
Councillor Grant?
Could we make a motion at this point, or?
I believe so.
Okay,
I think we should receive. the
okay, so
report.
I'll make a motion that we receive the report.
All those in favor?
Okay, and then now it's okay to make a motion. So I'd like to make a motion that we increase the Comox Golf tax exemption to 76% as was requested.
I'll second that.
There's a seconder there. Discussion? Councillor Grant?
I'm going to support that motion because, you know, I know in the staff report, it does say that there's several times a week when the golf course is closed off to the public. And yet in the presentation that we've heard tonight, it's just the club championship and a couple other events where the public are not, are not allowed on the course. And so, I happen to believe that the golf course is a real jewel in our town, and there's golf courses all over this country who are in real financial trouble because I don't know it's tough to grow membership, it's tough to get people out, and I would hate to lose it in our town because a lot of our seniors and our young people in our town use that golf course, and I'm going to support it and do whatever we can to help them out.
And with regard to that, I know that in the past, that may have been the case. They used to have a lot more members than they do today. And so events that they would have would fill up rather early, so they were doing that. They changed that, so now the public is welcome to come to all of those events. So they've realized that, they've got to start changing their ways a little bit, so they've gotten onto that. So, yeah, so just to explain what happened, they did change.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher?
Thank you. I would support this motion. I recognize that we're reflecting it on the ownership of the shareholders, and that may change from year to year, but this is a one-year exemption, and I'm sure we can look at it again in the coming years as it may not change. And I also think not only is it a jewel in our community, just the physical asset, but I also think the club that operates it, I would hate to see them become so distressed that they're no longer viable to operate it, and there would be no golf course offered. So I think if we can give them a little and ensure that they can help give them a leg up for the year and see how they do.
And just to say that I will also be supporting it. I know how difficult it is for non-profits to operate, and it has been shown that they could make the change that would show, or where we would effectively have the 75% ownership, but to spend thousands of dollars on that seems like a real waste of money. So I'm comfortable with the 75%, because de facto we do have 75% ownership.
Actually, the request was for 76% is the number they have, so, and my motion was to 76.
That's what is on the table.
Yeah, but the number 75 is in Don's report, so.
It actually came from a previous exemption request.
Okay.
So if you go to the binder in your reading materials or the binder on the counter in Town Hall, you'll see that the previous request was for 75%.
Just a question for council here is that it's a one-year exemption and it's to be reviewed. So would it be, what steps does the golf club have to do to show that they've got additional revenue or saw additional revenue next year? Would they come and appear before council then? They'd reapply again for an exemption?
They would reapply, yeah.
And that's required, and we would review it there. Director of Finance?
Your Worship, our policy is every year they apply. So an application is required each and every year by every organization.
So the sense is that if this motion passes, then next year, if they have shown some diligence in trying to raise revenue, then we'll review it again next year.
Cut them back.
Okay. Call a question then on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Grant, yes?
Yeah, and I'd like to move the recommendation in the staff report for the Legion, that we change their exemption to 100% of their recreational nonprofit instead of the 1/2.
I'll second that.
Director of
Your
Finance?
worship, the bylaws drafted already includes that.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yes, yes, yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, so could I just have a question through the chair to?
Yes.
If we now just make the recommendation to go to first, second, and third reading, you've got the little church on the Comox Hill, the Legion already in there, so we could accept everything as is, and that would cover all of those?
Yes,
I'm
so
correct.
give me a second, I'll find the section on the Legion. We'll just find that page for you.
Oh,
Through the chair of the staff, is what we've included in the bylaw, is that exactly what the Legion was asking for?
No,
They were asking for
they're
more.
100%, they're asking for 100% of everything. But the bylaw, section 14 on page 35 of the agenda, says, shall be exempt from property value taxation for the year 2013 on all of the value of Class 8 recreational and profit land and improvements for lot 6, 7, 8, plan 39, 23. So that's where 100% of Class 8 is factored in. And then, and you'll see it's similar to Clause 18 on the next page, which is for the 888 wing. And then the property that's exempted for the Lutheran Church is Clause 20, which exempts, shall exempt from property value taxation for the year 2013 on all land and improvements not classified as Class 1 residential, because that property is kind of split. There's a residential portion, and then there's which has a house on it, and then there's the nonprofit portion. The church, the hall, parking area, which are leased by the Lutherans.
Councillor Fletcher?
Thank you. So with this additional exemption to the Legion, and as to the chair of staff, the reality is, I believe what I get from your report is less than $1,000. That's the impact to them. So it's not a huge difference, is it? I just put that to the table.
And with the intent to try and keep some consistency with the other exemptions. Any other thoughts on this?
So,
Go ahead.
and so for clarification, we're looking at the area, basically the area, the bar area is excluded from the...
No, the whole of the building. In 2012, the whole of the building was treated as Class 8, okay? Not just the portion that was the bar. The whole of the building was Class 8, as well as half of the 3 lots, right?
Okay.
And then half of the land value was treated by DC assessment as Class 6.
Councillor Grant?
Okay, so I'll go. I'll make a motion that we grant them 100% tax exemption on everything.
I'll second that.
If not, just for discussion.
Yeah. And I have
Discussion?
a question is that, what is the impact on the budget with 100% exemption on all of it?
I have to crunch the numbers. One of the issues, you guys got a memo from me last year when it came, in the spring of 2011. One of the issues is that there are a significant portion of their taxes are not property value taxes. They are parcel taxes related to the downtown revitalization, and we can't exempt
No.
properties from parcel taxes.
Okay, so does that, but that doesn't affect the motion. Motion isn't to exempt them for parcel taxes.
No.
So that would be, so
Councillor Grant?
that would be a good number to know the answer to. And I'm just trying to find a way that we can move this along and perhaps get that number and deal with that issue at a later date, since we don't have that number today.
I can certainly include it in a quick report on the council agenda.
Okay, and then we could deal with it at that time? Like, I mean, if it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's one thing. If it's a few $1,000s, that's
No,
another.
it's a few $1,000s.
Okay.
If you look at page 32, you'll see that in 2012, the actual assessed value of the Class 6 property was $252,000, right? That was half exempt, and so the exemption of half was $2,800. So order of magnitude, we're talking $3,000. Right?
Okay.
So to the penny, I have to.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, I just wanted to
No, that's approximate.
So the reason I made that motion is because I know the Legion is falling on some harder times right now. Their memberships, they have a hard time with memberships. They have an aging group there. And I think that they do a lot of really good work in our town, as was outlined. And I just think that if we were going to treat a group a little differently than others, this would be the one that we should do it with. So that was the rationale for making that motion.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll vote then. All those in favor of the motion?
So could we just review the motion? The motion was for 100% tax relief on everything. That's the motion we're dealing with right now.
Class 6 and Class 6.
Fair enough. Okay.
But not the parcel taxes and not the BIA.
No, they don't pay BIA taxes.
No, they're
They're not a member?
they're not.
Oh,
They're,
okay.
They're an ex officio member.
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Back up, Shelley, you have that cleared?
I have that clear.
I just want to make sure we were all voting on the same motion.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So all those in favor of the motion? And opposed? Carried.
And then I would move the recommendation, the tax exemption bylaw to be forwarded for first, second, and third reading as amended.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll move on then to the next item on the agenda, the write-off request for Lake Haven Transit.
I'll move receipt.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor of receipt? Carried. Next item, special occasion licenses.
Worship,
I see Olin's going to speak to that.
I would just ask that this item be not discussed. I have been doing this with the recreation director. Initially, it was just to deal with private special occasion licenses that were held on requests that came to us for private property. But it becomes complicated because we do have private functions on public property. So we just need to have further discussion. We'll bring back the report at a later date.
So does it need referring?
No motion.
Just forget it.
Okay.
Motion to do nothing.
So we'll move on to correspondence then.
Move receipt. All of
The RCMP reports.
thank you.
Seconder?
Second.
All those in favor? Carried. In regards to the Valley Links Operation Red Nose, I've just been given some information that the Fire Chief Schneider has advised that the Comox Firefighters Association has approved a contribution of $1,000 to Operation Red Nose. Last night. Just want to commend the group again for sponsoring that, and I think that would be our obligation of support. I don't know if there's a motion that needs to be passed here.
That and move it for- We could get questions from the public, but they all left. Nice job.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?